and welcome to your daily game pace. I am Dr. Kimberly Lannon, and I am going to jump right in this morning because we have a lot of listeners I know already jumping on, and knowing that we started early because we have a special guest today who is a lovely dear friend of mine who is the founder of the Wildcat Sanctuary. We've had her on before, and she's here today with us, Tammy Thies. Welcome, Tammy.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And so I brought Tammy on because she's embarking, well, she's in the middle of doing, but she's really embarking on this new Catio Town project that is for all the littles. You know, we did the big cat crisis. Yep. And now we're working on the little cat crisis, which is all the hybrids, like the Caracals and the savannahs and people owning Asian leopard cats and so on and so forth, all the littles, right? So she's building a brand new, very lovely catio town, not your little catio that goes on the porch like we all want to build for our cats, but a big for all the littles that they have. So Tammy's here to talk to us today about that, but a few other things as well. But I thought I'd have her on to talk about the reasoning of why people own hybrids. I actually own a hybrid I have a 19-year-old. Oh, people are popping in with stuff. So good morning to Faith from Florida. And we have, I have a hybrid, and I won't own a hybrid again, obviously, for the reasons we're going to talk about today, but also because all the things they say about hybrids are true, because my whole house got destroyed. I have all hardwood floors and tile floors now, and all new furniture in the past 10 years because I owned hybrids.
Oh, there you go.
And now, so I won't do that again. And I didn't know that 19 years ago, but now I'm educated. So I do have a 19-year-old Bengal. And we were just talking about her being on a Silencia shot for her arthritis, and now she's getting hot spots. So she's 19, but hey,
one
she's
after another. Yes.
So anyway, so Tammy, welcome, and so tell us about Catio Town and what it is, and give us the background on it. And they're actually there to break ground, I believe, this morning, right after off the phone. They're actually already there
to do some site planning. Well, yes, thanks for having me. We've talked about the big cat crisis and the issues of cub petting and having big cats like tigers and lions as pets. And luckily, we have a law now on the books, a federal law, the Big Cat Public Safety Act, that will help curb that. But we have this big exposure with the small cats because a lot of times authorities don't see them as a public safety risk. But there are a lot of risks that come with these smaller cats, like you talked about, whether they're servals, caracals, bobcats. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then there's this other sub of them of hybrids of a domestic cat crossed with a wildcat. And those are your Bengals, your savannahs, your Chauceys. There's a lot of Caracals. There's a bunch like that. The problem is social media makes it look so cool to have these small cats, and they are stunningly gorgeous on purpose, right? That's what they're bred for. And they're coined as lap leopards, but the look of the wild, but the act of the domestic cat. Well, when you cross an Asian leopard cat, which is a 6.5-pound wild cat, a very, very elusive wild cat, nocturnal, not social, loves to territory mark, and you cross that with a domestic cat to create a Bengal, what are you going to get? You don't know. Genetics plays a big part. So you might get the cat that doesn't pee outside the litter box, but you would be the one in the million. And so the sad thing we see is so many shelters and people wanting to surrender these cats because of territory urination, which is not using the litter box, marking everywhere, destroying the house. They're very vocal. They tend to be super active. And we just have this surplus of small cats, and social media makes these gorgeous cats look like they're great pets. But that's a snapshot in time. And as you know, of having them, there's so many challenges. The hybridization causes a lot of health issues, inflammatory bowel disease. And we love our littles here at the sanctuary, but we are at capacity, and there's only a few sanctuaries around the country of wildcats that take in the hybrids. And so the problem is just becoming exponentially, can't even say the word today. It's morning and even coffee, exponentially larger. And we're just can't keep up with the calls. I got one on a Bengal named Stitch last night begging if we have a space for him. So Catio Town is a kind of a new solution. And so when you think of your catios, yeah, you think of these small 3x6 areas. But really what we want to do is, because we are in Minnesota and we have Minnesota weather, including winters, we want the hybrids we rescue to have year-round space. And that includes an indoor temperature controlled bedroom that multiple cats can live in, to the outdoor yards in Catio Town. And we kept it covered here because then during the winter, they can still use it. Currently, we have built similar to them, like we do the big cats, where they have an outdoor fenced area and like a shed heated building. And the reality is there's so much maintenance, shoveling, mowing. And these cats are caught between two worlds. They've been former pets. Many of them want attention, but they have destructive behaviors, health issues, territory urination. So they're not wanted in a home environment. And so we want to kind of give them a home environment that's conducive to all the cleanup we need to do, and then allow our staff to give more one-on-one time. And so Catio Town was built. And that's because we have something called Patio Town here in Minnesota. It's a company. So Catio Town just kind of it was a great transition. And yeah, everybody here in Minnesota knows what that is.
Well, it's definitely just, I don't know, Tammy, if you can see the comments, but we have a lot of people chiming in and promoting the Catio Town.
Awesome.
And so I just wanted to really give a quick mention, because Daria put up that they have 5 more days to donate to a double match gift to the end of June for Catio Town. And that helps build to have the Catio Town built. But also there's, because people are talking about donating and putting money towards Catio Town, and I'll just jump into this really quick and then we'll come back to that. But are you still doing the square footage that for $250,
for $250, you can sponsor a square foot of Catio Town. It is a $1.2 million project that included the tear down of the current area, building temporaries for our 46 hybrids that we currently house. And then this will give us more capacity to help more when we build. But yes, thank you, Daria. We have a donors matching dollar for dollar up to $100,000 until the 30th of this month. So if you want to give $5 becomes 10, 25 becomes 50. And it's kind of really the first of its kind. We have it for domestic cats, but this is definitely has to be a little different. It has to be sturdier. It can't have all the carpet everywhere and the linens everywhere, because these hybrids destroy a lot of that and will eat that and shred that and things like that.
And they pee all over it.
We will pee all over it. And we're doing some fun things with Catio Town. So it's not only to be, this is their home for life. So we want this to be a happy, happy place for the cats. And so the outdoor catios are very large. There's enough area for the people to sit. And then we did fun. Each room, there's 10 rooms, 10 catios. There's special themes in the room. So we have everything from the jungle room to the posh room, to the mellow meow. We even have Purby, which will be a hot pink room. And a lot of that is we share their stories on social media to help curb the problem and overbreeding of hybrids. We are support people that have adopted hybrids and are committed to them, because there's not enough sanctuary. But when you go to the Bengal or the Savannah rehoming Facebook pages, you can just see this, why they're rehoming them. It's always, they have to be the only cat. They have litter box issues. They have territory, aggression issues. It's the same story repeated over and over. I think in the last Savannah group I just looked at, this is like the 7th home for this Savannah. And so our sanctuary is really for those hybrids that cannot be in a home environment, and that we're their last resort before euthanasia.
And that, I think that's such an important piece that people understand, because obviously because I have some of these issues with some of my clients that come in and they have hybrids, or they buy them for it's a mental health sometimes issue, not in a bad way, but they are so excited to have something that's so exotic, and obviously not owning a tiger or a real big cat, because you can't do that. This is their next best thing. And they think, it's an extension of themselves. There's lots of things that come with it that make them feel very special. But then they realize that, oh my gosh, they have all these issues that they come with. And then they either, like what Tammy was just saying, they can't get past all the, the potty issues or the territory issues and all that. But also they can be aggressive and they can be not so nice, and it really depends. And then if you have other animals in the house and they're not getting along, I mean, it just becomes
It's like
this
having
whole
a teenager.
Yeah, it is. I always say Bengals and hybrids are like having a 2-year-old that never grows up. The world revolves around them. If they're unhappy, they're going to territory mark. If they're over happy and excited, they're going to territory mark. It's their way of communicating. And the one thing that isn't mentioned a lot is, we talk about the cat's behavior, but when you see these calls and emails from these owners that love their pet cat, that they've tried to keep this hybrid, and how heartbroken they are that they now either have to give up this cat or euthanize this animal because they feel there's no other option. Their husbands or wives are too upset that they've spent thousands of dollars on replacing carpet over and over again. The vet bills, things like that. And so I tell people, if we can't curb their decision to not get a hybrid because they think they'll get the one cat that doesn't do all those things, I hope for them to hear just the heartbreak in these people's, voice, that when they have to give up an animal they loved and want to be committed to because they can't. And then I say, and then you want to rehome that animal. You raised it from a kitten. You fell in love with it. You've done all this and you can't tolerate that behavior. And now you think the next person who gets it as an adult is going to accept that behavior. The problem is people rehome them and they get adopted because of that beautiful, gorgeous photo of spot patterns and things like that. And I always said, hey, if you put that description and you put up a tabby cat or a black cat as the photo, how often do you think it would get adopted or rehomed? Probably zero. Right. But people see that beautiful cat and everything else goes out the window, and it's a lifetime commitment. And so for those people that have committed or have the cats that aren't having the behavioral or the health problems, that's wonderful. But if you really want to help a hybrid, please adopt. Don't shop. Don't buy from another breeder. Buying a hybrid is more lucrative for the breeder than buying a tiger. These cats start at $500, which is probably not a well-bred one, and go up to $35,000. And so if you think the breeders are doing this just out of the love of their heart, not all of them are. Most of them are out there for making money. We rescued those 30 Asian leopard cats, and there was 25 Bengal cats from a home who was a breeder, and she had 25 cats removed prior due to cruelty, neglect, and then we're all picking up the pieces. And sadly, it's going to be to the point that there isn't enough space, and the animals shouldn't pay the price for us wanting, a designer pet.
Well, and I think so to that point. So when the little Asian leopard cats came in, I had the privilege of being there during the time that they came in. So I got to see their intensity and their lovely smell, by the way, which you don't want in your house.
I was going to say, I wish social media had scratch and sniff.
Yeah. Because they have a very musky smell. They are very super small and they are feisty. And Rue, who's one of my little sponsor cats, he was one of the small, I think he was a baby, right? I can't remember now.
Yeah, he was like 2 pounds. Yeah.
When I saw him for the first time, he was actually hanging upside down. If this gives you, he was hanging upside down from his enclosure when I walked in, and they
poop in their water bowl and they smear it everywhere, and they are the stinkiest animals. I adore them, but
they're beautiful. But this is what they would do.
But I said an Asian leopard cat is like a red squirrel crossed with a feral cat crossed with a weasel. That's exactly what it is.
Yes, and I mean, and so that's the appeal. And so when you guys rescued, the woman passed away. She had all these cats in her house, and I was going to speak about the breeding thing. Is that if you look online and you watch social media, it talks about people getting down on owning a hybrid, but what they'll say is, well, because if you find a good breeder, which is the $35,000 breeder, that's money equals good breeding. They say that will be you won't have the same kind of issues. That's not true, because I can tell you from my firsthand experience, which we were talking about before we went on air, I paid a lot of money for my 2 and the one that passed away, and she passed at 12, and all she had was issues from the day I got her. From the very day I got her, and I spent a lot of money, and I will never do that again because it was wrong to do to her. She just shouldn't have been through that life, and it was hard. It was not only hard on us as owners, but just on her. The
Were you
cats
working
are,
with that mindset that you were going to be the one owner?
I didn't
Who
know,
get
no,
the
because
one
I
cat?
didn't know any,
Yeah.
that was not, so it was 20 years ago when
Yeah.
I got her, and
Yes.
I had no idea. It was just, she was beautiful. This was a thing. It wasn't like a thing like it is now, but it was a Bengal that was really cool. And it
Yeah.
looked, I had no idea about all the stuff that came with it until we got into it. And then when she passed, the breeder, I went back to the breeder. This will tell you something. The breeder was out of business. And when I finally got a hold of her, because I wanted her to know that there were lots of physical issues. Now, this is 7 years ago. And she actually said, I don't really care. She said, I don't care. She didn't care that the cat passed. She didn't care that she had bred all these cats. I mean, she bred a lot of them. She didn't care about anything. She was out of the business and she was done. For whatever reason, I'm not really sure what happened there. Probably something related to this. But it was, and she made a ton of money off of this. But she did not care that, she didn't want to
And
pass.
most breeders' contracts were if they're under a year, they will take them back because they can resell them. If
Right.
they're over a year, they don't. And we have Eddie, the Bengal here. He was a stud breeder for the longest time, so she sold him at discount to somebody, but he had never been socialized. He urinated all over the house, and she had brought him in for euthanasia because the breeder wouldn't take him back here in Minnesota. And then that's when we got the call. And we adore Eddie. He does like to pee everywhere. I mean, we always talk about who pees the most, Topper, Puma, and everybody thinks it's the males, but we have a lot of females that territory urinate too. They might not spray the same, but they will urinate everywhere. And so, we know that this can happen even with domestic cats that can territory mark. When you add that wild ancestry, you're going to have a house that smells like a cat, and that's what people don't want. And then you're going to have a cat that probably doesn't like any visitors and might, go after another cat. And Bengals are very so much that way, is that if you start cats after them, that's when they really get upset. And people say, she was fine for years, but I added another. And we also have this, it's so weird because I call them the gateway cat, because so many of the people that surrender Bengals to us also then have savannahs. Then they get their serval and their caracal, and they just keep getting higher and higher up. It's just, it's frustrating because I don't know many people that keep their caracals or servals for 20 years. All the surrenders are coming at a year to 2 years old now, because once they hit that adult age, even if spayed and neutered, they start exhibiting their wild behaviors. And we see the same thing with the hybrids. And so, and what we call domestic hybrids. So yes, the Bengal cat and the Savannah cat, if they're 4 generations removed from the wild ancestry, they are considered a domestic cat in the US. But that doesn't mean those behaviors go away. So don't be, fooled when the breeder says it's a domestic cat. The other thing I get mad at is the breeders always say, why are you calling these domestic cats hybrids? And I said, well, why are you selling them on exotic animal websites, thousands of dollars? The biggest thing on your page says you got the look of the exotic, wild ancestry. I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You can't sell them as an exotic species for an exotic price, and then when we call you on it, you tell us they're domestic breeds and that we shouldn't be calling them hybrids. So it's an interesting dynamic. But again, we're not trying to vilify a cat. We're trying to curb the problem of overpopulation, right, especially in a new kind of breed of cat. It used to be only a few people could afford a Bengal, but now they're everywhere. They are at every shelter. They're at every, rescue group. And every one that I've seen has been for territory urination, not using litter boxes and things like that. So that's usually, like I said, when we get the calls, when they just feel they can't be adopted out anymore, and they have to go to euthanasia is the final option. That's when we get the calls.
And Tammy, don't you think too, with the Bengal, the Savannah, and the serval, at least in my experience around, clients that have had them of mine, that they've been sold on it because they've been told, or they buy into, that this cat is the lap cat, but it's this going to be very loving, and which I've been very lucky. I have that, but I do not have that with some of my clients that have had them over the years that have said, this cat I love the cat, and they have not had to rehome. They keep them, and I've ended up teaching them over the time how to do this, but too much to their chagrin of this is painful, this is destroying my house. And then, thank God I didn't have all of that. But it's so bad that they don't understand that the cat probably isn't going to be that one that's going to be the lap cat, the one from the shelter that's the tabby is going to be your lap cat, not these hybrids.
Exactly. And any animal that you bring into your home needs to be a lifetime commitment.
Exactly.
There's definitely exceptions to the rules if somebody has health issues or things like that. But pets are not disposable. And so like I said, my role is not to get everybody to surrender their hybrids.
Right.
My role is to curb the breeding of future hybrids and have people make commitments to animals that are going to fit into their lifestyle. Put it this way, I run the sanctuary. I've been doing it for 20 years. I obviously adore Bengals and Savannahs. I rescue them. I have brought them into my home over the years when they don't merge into a bungalow or something here. And when me and my husband moved off site, he said, can you promise me that when we buy a house, you will not bring any hybrids or Bengals? I just want a house that's not crystallized in urine, and I don't have to have cattle panel on the windows to keep them from breaking out of the screens.
Don't
And
bring your
so
work home,
I
Tammy.
do have, I do have 6 cats, and not one at home, and not one of them is a Bengal. My husband says they all look the same because I'm a tabby girl. I love tabbies and Grace, but it's true. And so, I get my fix here and love the cats we have here, but it's just sad because these animals are bred for their look, just like white tigers and white lions. And then people don't keep them because of their behavior or personality. And that's not fair. It's not fair for us to expect them to be something they're not just because we want them to be that way.
And I think that's to drive home the point. It's not about vilifying the animal. It's more about just having people be educated to know what's really going on. It's sort of like, I think it's like the first baby steps of where we were at with the Big Cat Act years ago, about people understanding that this is a similar issue in terms of what's going on. People really need to understand that it's not about having the cat. It's about really understanding what's going on.
Well, and the crazy amount of statistics that we're compiling right now that I've initiated through the Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance, because a lot of our sanctuaries house the Caracals servals, is getting a list of how many of them were escaped and at large when they came to our sanctuaries.
Right.
I think we're at over 35 of our cats were loose or at large when they came to us. And that means, look at Bruno the serval out of Massachusetts, where you came
right.
to. Like, they're affecting the ecosystem. If they're not spayed and neutered, they can crossbreed with feral cat populations. Many of them that we've even referred to other sanctuaries this year have been at large. And so we are going to start affecting our ecosystem, just like we have with snakes in the Everglades, with these hybridization of cats that are now going to be in our wildcat feral cat population. And so that's a huge concern too, because most of these cats, especially the servals and caracals, are escaping people's houses because the screens don't keep them in. They're meant to be Bengals are nomadic. They love to run around, and a lot of people let them be indoor outdoor cats because they've been peeing in the house and then they don't come back. And so, on top of that, just your heartbreaking and not being the proper pet, there is so much that is larger, that's impactful, that these cats are impacting out in nature. And guess what? Again, they're going to get trapped and euthanized. They're not going to get TNR'd. They're not. They're hybrids and they're servals. They're not going to get to live wild.
You get a Bengal going with a Fisher cat, and we're going to have real problems.
Well, the Fisher cat would kill the totally different thing. That weasel will kill.
Yeah.
So there's so many people commenting, and so I want to make sure I get some of these comments in because we will run out of time. And I also wanted to make sure we promote how to have people contribute. But so Barbara Brewer and Paula from Florida and respective places, and Faith and a couple other people are talking about how to get the word out on how to get people educated, because when people start posting up about about having hybrids, you get ripped apart. Oh, I've been on that side of things.
Oh yeah, you do.
You get nailed for it. You can't say anything because how do you politely start a conversation, essentially, Paula and Barbara and everybody's asking?
So I think the first thing is you're not going to change the people's minds that already have them, right? We need to reach the cat lovers that are just looking for a new and exotic thing that they see. So, TikTok and all that, sharing our posts where we do the education and you're not the one attacked is the best thing. Sharing our post to a breeder is not going to change a breeder's mind. So we need to reach out to the cat loving people on the cat pages, versus being so much on the hybrid pages. It's about the general cat lover. It's about educating. I think we have tools on our website that you will love that we just added of like how you ID a hybrid. What do you do if you have a hybrid that's acting out? And then we are going to be adding, we have a lot of those testimonials from people that called us or emailed us to surrender. And I think those are the most impactful to share because, again, that is about what the human issue is, because sadly we are a selfish culture, even the most compassionate people. So telling them not to do something makes them want to do it more, but showing them the stories of these heartbroken people who had to give up their cat or were considering euthanasia would be like, I don't want to be in that position. Maybe I shouldn't buy a hybrid. And so I think sharing those tools is really great. We are going to be putting together sample legislation. And so we know this is going to be decades in the making, but from city, county levels, if people do want to enact legislation to curb the breeding right now, and then the possession will come later. So there's things like that we're doing, but it is a slow process. It is about giving them the information in a neutral way for them to realize themselves versus telling them they're doing something wrong. So.
And it's even hard. And I know, because I've seen some of these things, and certainly I do it neutrally, but people get so defensive over it because they feel that they're shamed for doing it because they know that that's there, but no matter what. So you just go to the typical cat lover pages and really.
And again, it's about commitment, right? Being commitment. I don't want people surrendering more Bengals and Savannahs to us. I want them committed to the ones they have, but then they are good advocates, just like you are, Dr. Kim, to say, I love these animals to death, but this was more than I thought it was going to be taking on, a Bengal breed. So.
And I think that that's the thing, that if you are taking on any kind of breed that is a hybrid, including, I want to mention bobcats, because there's a lot of people up in this area that own bobcats, which always, it blows my mind. But if you're taking that on, it's a commitment. If you can't afford your own healthcare, no offense, but if you can't even afford your own healthcare and you're having trouble with family, you think that cat is not going to cost you something. Let me tell you about my vet bill last year, which I won't. Right. So it's a big commitment, and you can't, people say, well, it's just a cat. No, it's your child. It's a family member. This is a big deal. And if you're investing $20,000 or even $5,000 or $500 at the start, you've got to really commit in to know that this kind of cat along the way, has meaning in your life. And it is hard to lose them for the variety of reasons that they have health issues or whatever, but it's also, if you have to surrender, rehome, or euthanize, it's awful for people, like mentally, obviously it's terrible. People just suffer. So just being mindful of that before you decide to do something like that, which, we're not encouraging. So Tammy, because I know you have the contractors waiting for you.
When they're out there in their bright yellow walking the site right now out the window.
But I want to just make sure you get a really good plug-in for how people can help for Catio Town right now, or anything else. I know Sushi is a fishing cat. He, right? Sushi's a she.
She's a girl.
I always think because it's sushi. But got a new enclosure and all these things, and people helped out to get that done. So Catio Town is the next big thing on the menu for the next year being done. So, okay, so Tammy, how can people help you guys out?
There's so many ways. You can donate directly to Catio Town and get the match in by June 30th at our website at wildcatsanctuary.org. You can sponsor any one of the cats, and the little hybrids start at $12.50 a month. And so it's really affordable, and you're really helping us save another life and care for the cats here. And so also follow us on social media, on Facebook, we're on TikTok and Instagram, under Wildcat Sanctuary, and share those posts, because we need to have a presence out there educating when other posts are exploiting the servals and the hybrids. And so sharing those posts is wonderful. And I really appreciate you having me on today. And I really appreciate you caring so much about the littles. The big guys get the attention, but the small cat crisis is real. And it's our next thing we're going to go fight. And so we appreciate you sharing our story and sharing our Catio Town project.
Oh, you're very welcome. And we will have you back on when we can do this again. And the only other question I would have before you jump is that if people know of anywhere that needs, or any cat that needs to be rehomed, and obviously you guys are pretty full and other places around the country, where would you suggest people go to if not you?
Right. So they can look up their local Bengal rescue groups. I would just say be very cautious because some of the Bengal rescue groups are breeders. And so they also breed Bengals and help rehome. But there's been some great groups out there. Also, if Wildcat Sanctuary Alliance, you can reach out to, because we do have a few other sanctuaries that rescue the hybrids. And so then I will reach out to them as well as the rescue coordinator. Definitely, if you have a wildcat, like a serval, bobcat, lynx, caracal, things like that, reach out to us or Wildcat Sanctuary Alliance, because we do have spaces in our accredited and reputable sanctuaries that can accommodate those wild species.
All right. So fantastic. And I'm so glad you came to join us.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few months.
I will see you in a couple of months. I can't wait. So, but
Thank
you so much, Tammy. All right. So thank you everybody for joining us. Tammy had to go. And if you joined late, Tammy had to jump out because the contractors, she had scheduled this with me a few weeks ago, and the contractors were not on, they were 6 weeks behind to come in to build this. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days ago, she's like, we're on a tight schedule because now they're showing up this morning at 9, but they were there when she got to the sanctuary this morning really early. And she's like, I'm sorry, but I have something going on. So like exotics, contractors are going to do what contractors do. Exactly. Yeah. So she had to jump, and she apologized for not being able, but that's why we were rushing and squishing everything in. So it's so exciting to have her on, because I don't get to say other great things about her with her here, but I know she knows this. She has a great staff of people, volunteers, and also staff members. And I think she's one of the, most fabulous leaders in terms of women and in business and running a nonprofit. She came from a totally different background. I know a lot of people are listening that are cat lovers and Tammy lovers. She came from the background of being a marketer, and she just uprooted her whole life and moved and she started this down south, and then she moved up to Minnesota, which she often has joked, like, why did I move up to the snow? Because because they have, all kinds of weather up there. And I think last week they had tornado warnings. And look what she's built and how big this has become and how effective it is. Exactly. It's amazing. Exactly. And so I think that, there's other sanctuaries, obviously, in the country that are open and are, accredited just like they are, the GFAS, the Global Federation for Accredited Sanctuaries. But Tammy, I think really, in my mind, is the forerunner of this this country's cat crisis issue, but also she's very committed to having everybody have a loving forever home. There's no, no moving them out, no moving them along, no, they get there and that's where they stay. And so she's so committed to these new enclosures they've built out. Like last year when I was there, they were not expecting to have all the things that they've had, but they, when I was there, they got all those new little cats. Yep. And they are in the process of also getting some cats. They're trying to get some cats that are big cats coming that need homing from Argentina. I believe it's Argentina. There's so many stories. I'm always like mixing them up, but they have some other cats coming in, but they get calls for rescues all the time. And I think that, in terms of, my show, in terms of your daily game face, right? People just have pets in general for love and companionship and all these things. And I think it's super important for people to understand, like she says, don't shop, just go to your local shelter and find some lovely baby that needs your love instead of going and doing this. It's because it's about, the end result is not getting to a point where we are in Florida with, the pythons and having, a ecological issue because we have now introduced species that don't belong where they're supposed to, where they now are, and they were never supposed to be. And so on and so forth. And I think also, and we didn't get to talk about this, but, aside from, Bengals and whatever, we didn't get to talk about other breeds, but there's, like the Savannah she talked about, not Savannah, I'm sorry, the serval that got out last year here in Lincoln, Mass, and then ended up out there, Bruno, I believe it's Bruno. One of the listeners, I think Marcy, is knowledgeable about Bruno too, but, like they get out and they're not necessarily the friendliest animals, and they present just like the big cats present. They can present a problem for public safety. Bobcats, Caracals, especially when people don't realize what they are, and then they present hostility to hostility. I have several people that talk to me about ownership of bobcats, and it's just it's amazing to me because they believe that when they have them as kittens, and there are certainly, again, like I love how Tammy says it's not vilifying the cat. It's about the fact that people get them as kittens and then they hand rear them, which it can make it better, but you don't know. You can't take the wild out of them. That's and they're not a crossbreed. They're an actual.
It domesticates them to an extent, but not fully.
Right. And so, like when I was in South Africa, the M. Danini Cheetah Project, I went to do some work there with some years ago about helping the cheetah conservation and the rescue, release, and rehab. And they had servals, and they were very much about promoting that they're good domestic cats. And I was like, no, because I was walking inside the enclosure with the servals in South Africa, and they loved John, and they were peeing on me. They peed on me. So I was, and I was like, really? So I'm not about that. So people just don't understand that. And I think that, they're beautiful and wonderful looking, and they can have their moments, but you don't breed that. You do not breed that piece out of them. And if you're getting a full on lynx or a bobcat or an ocelot, those are not mixed breeds. Those are all wild, and you can pet them and touch them and love them, and they get used to it, but they're probably going to be your only cat, and that's a commitment. And so I think it's important for people to just realize that.
Honestly, Maine Coons are too savage for me, let alone exotics.
Well, Maine Coon is not the same. That's actually, you're funny. So Maine Coon, don't put them in the same. No, I'm not putting in the same mix because they're not. So the Austrian forest cats and the Maine Coons are not in the same league, but I'm just so happy that she came on because I'm so happy to see how many people are here.
I want to thank everybody. We had a great audience today, very helpful and very communicative, and lots going back and forth. Loved it. Yes, and I'll have, and when I'm out in Minnesota in September and October, I will hopefully go live again so that we can maybe go live from that, so that we'll have Tammy back on and show people. But for everyone that's listening, please pass along this to all of your groups, to pass it on to all your Facebook groups, your Instagram groups, your TikToks, whatever you're on. Put it on everything you can that would help support that, because this is one of my favorite passions about helping people out. I'm always trying to place fur babies in general with people, especially for companionship and loneliness and anxiety, and cats in general make fabulous companion babies, and so do dogs. I know you, Lou. For everyone that's listening, Lou doesn't care about my cats. He has two cats, but we never hear about them because Lou has his dog. Yeah, that's right. I'm a dog guy. I know. I don't have a problem with cats. I know you don't have a problem with them. We just don't talk about them. No. How long did it take me to find out in my years of knowing you that you even had cats? Well, so that I don't like to talk about it. So, but I think Maine Coon, by the way. I know, and you can't even tell me about your Maine Coon. It's just amazing to me that you have a Maine Coon, and we never hear about this cat. I don't even know the cat's name. Astro. Oh, that's great. Thank you. 5 years knowing you. Yeah. Well, sorry. Thanks. But I'm going to have Tammy on again, and we'll talk about this. But the Catio Town, just so you guys know, if you haven't gotten a chance to go out to Minnesota to see where it is and what's going on. So they have already torn down what the enclosure was, the big area that was, and it was all fencing and all that stuff. This place now that they're building is going to be, as she said, like a $1.2 million
big, it's like a big, enormous house that has all these connections in it. And one of the best things that I love about the whole sanctuary out in Minnesota is and like, if I was a cat, I'd want to be there. If I was an exotic cat, I'd want to be there, because every cat, I'm talking like all the cats, they have indoor enclosures in and out that they can go, right? They're heated in the winter and they're air conditioned and fans and stuff in the summer, huge, right? And they all have TVs. I've always loved that. I'm like, they all have TVs. This is great. So they are,
what do the cats watch?
There's been a variety of things that I've like seen through different posts, but I just love that.
I mean, they're watching Disney Channel.
I think
special
fish.
Cat videos,
Sure. I don't know.
Tanks,
maybe they're watching National Geographic. Who knows? But I just think it's great, and I think that if you can put, I think you can't put a price tag on what she does, but certainly.
Well, Tammy's the best.
Tammy's awesome. And I just love the story and how this all is I don't love that we have to do this in terms of like having to
this is such a tough problem though, because you have to go to the demand. You can't go out to breeders. And as long as people are asking for them, they're going to continue to breed them and make these cats available. So you have to go at demand, which is, that ship is always so tough to steer.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I think I think this new project,
Lion King.
I saw that. I think
that's too sad. Cat dies. You can't show that.
I can't watch the Lion King but she's saying that Tammy is the Lion King.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I think. I think that's what Barbara was saying. No, I can't. Bambi and Lion King, I can't watch. It's too upsetting. And Dumbo. Dumbo kills me. I don't know what Disney was thinking, but you just made me forget what I was going to say. Kathy, yes, I'm going up to Kathy Ryan. It was Bruno, because Bruno is from here.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say that, when I'm out there in the fall, I will try to do a live and hopefully get out and maybe do some pictures and some live out. I don't know. There's sometimes the Wi-Fi out in the field of behind where she was just sitting gets a little sketchy. Because of it's literally out in Timbuktu. It's you would never know that this place exists at all because it's so far out. And
send somebody out with a phone and we'll give it a shot.
And that's what I'll do, a test run and see if we can do it. But it's so exciting. So anything that people donate, anything that people give, I think that whole thing about buying a square foot of the place for $250 is super cool. And there's other things. If you go to wildcatsanctuary.org, there's all different ways to donate towards that project. And I just think it's really good. And people will often say, I can't afford that. $5 right now through June 30th. I feel like I'm on like a telethon, but it doubles. So $10 is, so it's going to double all the way up through. So I think that's exciting too, because that's a real rare find to have someone that's matching up to that amount to do that.
Yeah, they've got some major benefactors. Right?
Yeah, it's been and it's really great. I mean, she did start out with Tippi Hedren, Melanie Griffith's mother. That's like Tammy, and she that was one of her mentors, I believe. I could be speaking out of turn there, but I know that. So there's a long line of people that have come through that have great benefactorship towards the Wildcat Sanctuary, and anybody that wants to do that certainly can. But most importantly about this show is just being able to say, hey, educate as many people as you can in the cat lovers groups, educate people. I know there's legislation that's just starting. Like she said, it's just like sample legislation that's going out. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a similar thing to like what everyone was working on with the Big Cat Act before, like Big Cat Rescue and Tammy and Wildcat Ridge, all the places that are accredited were working on that. So the same thing will probably happen here. And Tammy, I know, is going to be heading that up. For the most part, in my mind, that's what's going to happen. So it's exciting, but it's also a reminder that, wow, we have a little cat crisis, because now that people can't really get their hands on big cats in the same way they could for now, since it passed. Yep. Now people are going really hard and heavy towards littles. And I'm a little fan. So I want to make sure that we're all doing this in the best possible way, so that we have conservation and we have responsible ownership, and we keep our commitments.
But there's a lot of talk about all the blowback that's gotten, and I thought you guys struck a great tone, because it wasn't about it's not about the cats. It's about taking on problems that you can't handle and creating a crisis with it, whether it's be just releasing the cats, which seems to be happening a lot.
Yes.
And
I see it at least once a week now.
And the need for this type of sanctuary.
Right. And there aren't any. And Tammy and I've talked about that there aren't not any. There are not enough places to be able to take what needs to rehome or to so euthanasia is what happens. Mm-hmm. And that's so terribly sad for a beautiful, loving cat. I say that obviously with keeping everything in mind. That's very young, 2 or 3 years old, sometimes even younger, or is then euthanized because they are a problem.
Yep. And
that's so unfair to them, And so there are not enough sanctuaries, obviously, to home all these cats or rehome all these cats. So the best thing is just to not be doing it. But like the big cat issue, and she was saying it as well, it's going to make bigger money because there's no legislation in place, and it's going to take years to do this. So it's a big price tag. Justin Bieber years ago, remember I think if people listened to my show before with this, I had a little tiff with Justin Bieber, and people like, really? Yep, I did. Cause me, it was friendly, but he bought 2, I think he paid $25,000 a piece for the 2, and he's had nothing but problems. And when he first got them, the tiff started. I call it a tiff. It wasn't really a tiff, but we had exchanges.
Like social media beef?
No, it was not on social media. It was behind closed doors. But it was text. It was texting. But I said, well, good luck with your $50,000 rug that you have. And because, he likes his things. And this was years ago. But since that happened, they've lost them. They've gotten out. They've roamed. They have all the problems that they've had with them. But now it's been very quieted. So you never hear about what happens. And I don't even know if he still has them because it got so quiet about it. Because
what happened to them?
Well, because he got so much blowback from it. And that's the other thing is that you have celebrities that put it out there that are, saying like, own this, it's really cool. And so that spawns people to want it more, because people that have that kind of money.
How do you do that equation in your head and think that that's going to work out for you?
Which equation is that?
Taking 2 tigers, wild animals. They'll make great pets. There won't be a problem.
Well, servals aren't tigers, but they're like little mini tigers sort of. But
I thought he had 2 tigers.
No, he had servals.
Okay.
So no, he did not have that would be Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson has lots of big cats. I don't know if he has lots, but I know he has a couple. And I don't think because he was grandfathered in with the Big Cat Act, so he was allowed to keep them, I believe. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened with Big Cat Act. As long as you registered by last year, June 20th or 18th of last year, or 2022. I think it was last year. God, I've lost track of time. But you could have the ownership as long as you had them registered and you were taking care of them and all those things. So, and he does. So he keeps them. But then there's other people like, Joe Exotic, who is in jail and wasn't allowed to do that.
Another story. Yeah.
That's a whole different story. But with the littles, that's the thing so servals. So Justin Bieber owns servals. I don't know the status anymore, but he definitely has them. And that's the thing is the celebrity, Sarah Silverman was doing a show and I kept watching, she's doing a nighttime show on animals and doing pet tricks or something. And I kept watching to see, they're going to have like a Bengal, a serval. They're going to have something. I haven't seen anything come up yet, but I'm imagining it's coming. And that's the thing is if celebrities own it, it appeals to a certain person going, they have one. I want one. Because that's really cool. And then they don't realize any of this information. They don't know what comes with it. And so from my end, and that's Tammy and I always talk about the mental anguish that comes with it. And that's why before the show is saying I had Kalila was my first Bengal. She passed when she was 12. It was horrific. She died of health issues. And it was a horrific 12 years of watching her with so many medical issues that were all related to her being a hybrid. And I have her sister who's she's 19 and she has arthritis and now she has hot spots. Because she got the shot for Silencia for arthritis, and now we got hot spots.
Wow.
I think that's what's causing it. But nonetheless, that's the commitment. She's 19, but she doesn't have any of the issues that Kalila had. Thank God, because my house got destroyed. My house literally got destroyed. So when I talk about this, and it's a passion for me, it's because I'm like, oh my God, there was so much love, and I couldn't ever. Kalila peed everywhere. I mean, we have all hardwood floors now, all tile. Everything was changed out because she just peed everywhere. She didn't have a urinary tract infection. This is just what she did because she was a Bengal, and she was a full-on Bengal.
You got to stop the I don't know argument,
right?
At this point, you got to let people know the decision that they're making,
right? And that after a couple of years, they might not want that cat anymore because they can't afford to keep up with the destruction that they, I have a client that had to clear out like a huge sunroom and just make it, that's where the cat stays, only because it destroyed her house.
Yeah.
And she feels bad because the only time the cat gets spent time with is when she goes in there, because she won't let it back in the house. And what kind of life is that?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to spend all your time out in a sunroom.
You know what kind of life it is? Predictable.
Well,
that's what kind of life it is.
I know, but it's sad.
No, but I mean, it's predictable that you get to that situation.
Right.
Again, the argument, I didn't know.
Right. Doesn't work.
It can't work anymore. You can't allow it to work anymore.
Exactly.
You got to educate people.
Exactly. So let me just, I'm not switching gears, but I'm just looking at, I love the fact, and I'm so grateful that so many, Bob Barker, Paula. Yes. Bob was very big. Barbara, I believe it was somewhere around 2018 and 2019, probably. I'd have to go back in my text messages to know when I had that discussion with him. Regardless, by the way, we have blocked each other.
Oh, okay. Well,
not Barbara and myself, but Justin didn't like
Justin's
my
got bigger problems.
Justin
now,
didn't like my Justin didn't like my feedback.
Yeah.
Well, not Justin Timberlake. We're not talking about Justin Timberlake. We're talking about Justin Bieber.
No, I know.
Okay. So Faith. So I was saying that thank you for everybody being here today. I love this, and please, again, share it, because if we can get, we'll say the 26th. So there's 4 more days for people to do helping out for the double match. Doesn't mean you still can't do it. Barbara, I will not block you. I actually didn't do the blocking. I got blocked because I pissed him off. Whatever. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'd like to see that list. List of people Justin Bieber has blocked.
I am a proud member of a blocked. That was back in the day. I wouldn't have, in retrospect, I have gone back and looked at what I said, and it was neutral, but I did make the snark comment of like, that rug that you got is
not you.
A shot.
I don't believe
Listen, he's not a patient. I was able to make a snark comment, So, but nonetheless, I think that comment is probably what ended up sinking my ship on that one. But
you're allowed to.
I know.
I was just amused at how surprised you were. You actually made one.
Everybody, he's picking on me, just so you guys know.
I'm not picking on you.
But I do, again, trying to say thank you to everyone for doing this, because I think that's great. And Tammy, I'm going to let Tammy know that we had so many people listening. And the other thing is, the comments are awesome. And I will come back and comment back on all of these later today, because I haven't had a chance. Oh my gosh, there's so many great comments and lengthy comments from people, and I appreciate it so much. And also, I will try to get, maybe Tammy can come on again here as we get into the later part of the summer, so that people know what's going on with Catio Town and all those things before I even go out there, because I'm not out there till the end of September. I was supposed to go out and do some gardening with somebody, but we haven't gotten to do that yet either, because life gets busy, because we were going to go out and do some landscaping at the Wildcat Sanctuary.
Oh, nice.
A couple people that are listeners, we were going to go out, but we haven't had a moment because we have busy lives.
Planting catnip.
So planting catnip. We could do that. But the other thing was AmeriCorps was just out there, and they just spent like 6 weeks or 2 months out there just fixing up the whole sanctuary for lots of things and building. They were part of the building of the fishing cat, which is not a fisher cat. It's a fishing cat, Sushi. I always forget that she's a she. I think. And they were building that enclosure and giving
the cat's name is Sushi.
Uh-huh. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
Again, another cat that people would like to own, but no. Yeah, it's not a thing. So, but if you guys ever get a chance, once or twice a year, Tammy also does open it up for people to come to a summer walkabout that they did do.
Really?
It's not open to the public in general, like a lot of sanctuaries, but she does do that. If you go on wildcatsanctuary.org, there is like a once a year, sometimes twice a year thing that you can do, that you can sign up for and do that. And they go around and show you everything they're doing. That one has already passed. That was at the beginning of June. And then there's another event, and that's what I go to. But that's it's a donor and VIP weekend.
Yeah.
And that's when we go out and do all the stuff with Catio Town and look around and do all the things and maybe do some landscaping. So when you want to volunteer, you can certainly go out. There's volunteer positions that you can sign up for on there as well. If you want to go out and help out, certainly can do that. They're always in need for people to do that. But it's a great thing. And so if you can do it from afar, if you can go out there, but they're just not open to the public for a good reason.
Yeah.
Right? So that it doesn't disturb the cats and it keeps everybody nice and chill and calm. So
like a little cat resort out there.
It is. Well, that Catio Town is going to be a little cat resort for them, and it's going to be awesome. See, I can't wait to see all the TVs.
Want to see what's on them.
I know. And you can go to their Amazon wish list too, because there is an Amazon wish list for things that are needed for Catio Town to furnish all the little sections of it. So I think TVs are on that. I'm obsessed with the TV thing.
HBO subscription.
I know. It's like I just love it. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew? I leave my TV on for the cats, but I just love that piece. I know I'm obsessing about it. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much. And I am going to wrap up today. It was a fun show. I can't wait to have her back on. I know I felt very rushed, or at least I feel very rushed because, trying to get it all in for her, but she's
fun when Tammy's on.
she's a great chatter. So I will see you all next week before the 4th of July. Have a safe weekend and I will see you next week. Thank you.